Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is a cleanup video here in the Raleigh, North Carolina garden. We are in the process of pulling out all of our annuals, doing some perennial cutbacks, non-native perennial cutbacks. I'll show you a couple things here that I didn't cut back that are native perennials we leave standing out here. And just gathering up all this material and then figuring out what to do with it. We have so much organic material now that the annuals that I'm pulling out, the perennials that I'm cutting back, shrubs that I'll be pruning in the late winter. There's a lot of shrub pruning that needs to be done that I wouldn't do here, a week before Christmas. It'd be best done, late winter, early spring, or if they're early spring flowering after they flower in the spring. So there's, two sets of prunings that'll be done then. But we're gathering up all this material, and then we have this giant white oak that's in the, just kind of dominates the back garden back there, and it has drowned the back in leaves. And so I've been basically raking off our paths back there, keeping those semi-clear, and then areas where the leaves are too thick in the beds or they're sitting on top of ground covers, I had to rake some leaves off some dianthus back there, and various other things, hellebores and other things. And I just been bringing the leaves out here to the driveway, and then the city will be, we're on the schedule for leaf pickup somewhere around the middle of January. Everyone in my neighborhood has already raked not everyone, but most people have raked their leaves out to the road. They're sitting there for the next month, and half of them will wash into the sewer system before then, and then a truck will come and take them, to the town, to the city. These are leaves, the leaves that we have along the street out here are literally the ones that get blown over here from work across the street. And so I just blow those into the driveway. I know they're not using chemicals over here. I know that none of my leaves have chemicals in them. So I trust all the material that's on this property, and I'm not gonna let it go anywhere. And so we've been bringing leaves out here to the driveway, the stuff off the road, and I just run the mower back and forth across them. I wanna leave a lot of whole leaves out here where I can, but if they're too thick, or they're sitting on evergreen things, or they're built up on the road, or they're preventing water from getting off the driveway, which is my issue with the driveway here, is it slows them down out there. So I have to get the driveway cleaned off occasionally. This brick driveway over here has sunk over the course of the years that's been sitting there. And I love having the brick driveway because, some water gets into the ground, instead of having a solid driveway like that. But again, it has sunk, and it sunk fairly substantially on both sides of the driveway. It's, this much lower, where the driveway is. And you can see where it used to be kind of a level pitch from the top of the driveway to the bottom, and now it's like a little sunken part. And unfortunately, water and soil and mud collect down there at the bottom. It has to be cleaned occasionally. It's near the bottom of my list of cares because it's another spot where I'm collecting organic material and water's getting into the ground that would normally just run off into the city sewer system. So it's not that big of a deal. One thing I actually did jump in and prune was our Windmill Palm, our Trachycarpus fortunei. This is a trunking palm, one that we can grow here in Raleigh. There are not lots, but there are quite a few hardy palms that we can grow here in the Raleigh area, but this is probably the best and fastest growing trunking palm that looks like, what we think about when we think about the tropics and palms, as opposed to shrubby type palms. They are slow to start and then quicker in time. And so this thing's really jumped out this year. When I put it in, the actual trunk on one of these is measured by, the kind of woody looking part, where the branching comes out from the top. So it wouldn't be measured. Right now it's 9 feet tall up at the top of the, very top of it up there. But the actual palm is measured to this part right here. That's reached about 5 feet. It was about a foot tall when I put it in the ground originally. These need well-drained soil, but I'll say that this is one of the more moist spots in the garden overall, but I raised it up some. I knew that when I planted it, I raised it up some. And so it's been, again, it was slow for the first year or two, and then it's really, really taken off. There are, if you're buying a windmill palm for an area like Raleigh, or you're in zone 7B or 8A and you're looking for a palm, make sure it's one of the Taylor's selections. We've had freezes in the past that have kind of thinned the herd on these windmill palms in the Raleigh area. And so there are some selections and ones that came from higher areas in the Himalayas, so that we have, make sure it's one that's cold hardy. Probably buy it from someone that's local in that area that you are, and it's overwintered a few times in your area if you're trying to push the boundaries. But these are the most cold hardy of, of the trunking palms like this. And I think over the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to look like a giant palm out here on the back corner of the screen porch on the back, which I originally planted. But it had been a shrub this whole time, and it's literally just been in the way because we have a water faucet back there, and I'm just kind of constantly going around it. Finally, I've been able to limit up into what looks like a trunking palm, and we can walk back and forth around it at this point. So I was kind of excited to get to that point finally. It's about 3 years in the ground at this point, and it's really starting to gain some speed now. This is the third cleanup video, and if I wasn't running my mouth on this camera and figuring out where we should shoot this angle or that angle from, this is pulling out all these annuals, planting these bulbs in the first one, cleaning off the back paths under the drone and all that stuff. And then this morning, we may have worked out here for 3.5 hours at this point, 4 hours, grand total, getting all these annuals out, getting the place re-cleaned up. And again, I got maybe one more round of pulling out annuals along the fence over here and a few things in the back that need to be pulled out. Staging all that material, going to be building a pretty extensive composting operation over here now that we have all this material to do it. But that's kind of my strategy, is I want to leave this stuff on the property. You know, how do you do that? I mean, I look at, if you're maintaining a really nice fescue lawn, a really nice Bermuda lawn, if lawn is your thing, then I understand you definitely want to be getting those leaves off the lawn. But at the old house, I had willow oaks with the tiny leaves out there, but I didn't care what my lawn looked like other than it was green. I didn't care what it looked like. So I just always ran the mower over them. And I see people, lots of people, and again, you do you, it's no big deal, but these leaves can most of the time just be run over with a lawnmower and then blown back into a bed, pretty easily without having to, have the city come and pick them up. And it's just good mulch. I've got one of our biggest issues here is we have creeping Charlie in the alley over there, and it creeps in through that bed right there. So this material that I gained this morning, I blew back over that direction, hoping to keep some sort of barrier over there. I'm always occasionally going to have to pull it, spray it, whatever I'm going to do to get rid of it. But keeping a barrier over there is kind of ideal, and I can use some of this organic material. Again, one of the issues, we've put so many annuals in here over the last 4 years, and we continue to try to do it. But a lot of our shrubs now have reached a size where we're probably going to have to give up on putting some annuals in between them, you know, going forward, because it's starting to do a little bit of damage during the season that we're not paying attention to, because it's so beautiful and it's so showy and it's so inviting to people and everybody's like ooh and ah over it. But then you end the season with gaps and holes and, you know, issues in your kind of permanent evergreen pieces. So we may have to dial back just a bit all the tucking that we've been doing. But part of the, and I had a consultation yesterday where I was talking to somebody about, you know, one of the ways that we got this garden to grow so fast, got it to fill in so fast, got things that should be really heat stressed. You know, the Scotch, I'm glad I'm standing next to the Scotch pine. It's a perfect example of that. It's in the full sun all day long, really doesn't like our heat. But we have a sedum that's gone to sleep that grows around the base of it. And then we had those vinca that I pulled out in yesterday's video that were here, pulled out some today here in this video. But those things have been protecting the base of that plant. But it's now gotten to the point where it's kind of protecting its own roots a bit more, and I don't have to, the sedum will be fine. You know, we probably won't crowd this thing with this vinca, you know, and potentially damage the underside of it on this part next year. Again, just thinking through those things as time goes on. But initially, when you're putting beds in, you're starting a new garden, you're really jumping into a project, some of these inexpensive vinca, some of these new varieties of vinca that you can do from seed, dwarf zinnias that you can do from seed, popping those things in between these other things, number one, it looks great all summer, but it also shades the roots of these things, and they tend to grow a little faster when they're not spaced out. So one of the consultations I was doing yesterday was Shindo viburnum that are 5 feet apart, or 4 to 6 feet apart. I actually couldn't tell from the video. They're the appropriate distance apart for their future, but in the short term, with dark mulch around the base of them, they really, really struggle with the heat on those roots. So that's the type of thing I'm talking about, underplanting some of those things with some things that are more sun tolerant, annual, vigorous growing things, can shade those roots and actually have those Shindo viburnum grow faster. And it seems counterintuitive, but it works great. And that's how we got so many things to grow fast. But now we need to throttle back, I think, a little bit on the annual. So that's where we are on maintenance. I've got to jump into the back garden. You may have noticed in the little bit of content here, we've got some soil cube compost. The annual beds that I've pulled out the annuals in are going to get a little bit of compost added to the top of them. The vegetable garden is going to get modified in size for the new compost bins, and some compost is going to go in the vegetable garden because I got some weeds growing in it. I need to get those weeds out and get a cap on it. Something I talk about all the time on the weekly garden planner. If you own the weekly garden planner, I talk about all the time getting these weeds out, getting caps on things. I'm late getting to it here in this garden, so I've got a few weeds trying to pop through where I don't have the ground covered all that well. So thank you guys so much for following along with it.